William Shatner is 94 years old. He has decided to talk about James Doohan. He is talking about the things they did together and about his life. William Shatner was born on March 22, 1931 in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. He grew up in a family with his parents Joseph and Anne Shatner. They named him William Allen Shatner. When William Shatner was a kid, he was very curious. He really liked to perform. William Shatner liked being the center of attention. He was good at it too. When he was a kid, he really liked learning about ideas and meeting different people, and he liked to express himself. This made it seem like the arts were something he would be good at when he grew up. The arts were something that really drew him in back then. William Shatner went to McGill University for education. He studied economics at McGill University. At the time, William Shatner developed a strong interest in drama at McGill University. When William Shatner was at McGill University, he found out that acting was not something fun to watch. Acting was a way for William Shatner to learn about people and think about what is right and wrong. William Shatner could use his imagination in many ways through acting. This is what made William Shatner decide what he wanted to do. It helped William Shatner figure out how he would work on his acting career. Shatner finished his studies. Then he learned how to be an actor. He started acting on stage. This is how he began a career where he did a lot of things. Shatner learned a lot from theater, especially when he worked with the Stratford Festival in Canada. At the Stratford Festival, Shatner acted in Shakespeare plays with actors who were very good at what they did. This experience with theater helped Shatner learn how to use language, control his voice, and be good on stage. These skills helped him when he started acting on screen. Shatner's work on screen was special because of these skills he learned from theater, particularly the Stratford Festival and Shakespeare plays. When William Shatner started working in film and television in the 1950s and early 1960s, he got a lot of parts. He was in shows like Alfred Hitchcock Presents and The Twilight Zone. William Shatner was also in a movie called Judgment at Nuremberg. These roles showed that William Shatner could be very intense and emotional. He was also very smart in these roles. William Shatner became very famous when he got the part of Captain James T. Kirk in Star Trek in 1966. This was a deal for William Shatner, and it changed everything for him. William Shatner was now playing Captain James T. Kirk in Star Trek. The Starship Enterprise had a captain who was very confident and had beliefs, and this captain was played by Shatner. He did a job of making Captain Kirk a really memorable character on television. Captain Kirk was a leader who was brave and always tried to do the thing. He believed in people, thought they could make the world a better place. This is what made Star Trek so popular. Star Trek was not a show about science fiction, it was also about big ideas and how people should live. When there were a lot of problems in the world, Star Trek showed us a future where people worked together and treated each other fairly. William Shatner's performance in Star Trek was really important to the show. He was very good at showing that Captain Kirk was a leader, but also a person who could be hurt. Captain Kirk was smart and passionate at the time. The show did not have a lot of viewers when it was first on television. It was stopped after 3 years. After that, Star Trek became very popular. People started watching the episodes on television, and fans began to meet at special events. They even made movies and more shows based on Star Trek. Star Trek is now known around the world. William Shatner played Captain Kirk again in 7 movies. This let the character of Captain Kirk get older and change over time. He even had to deal with dying, which is not something you usually see with fictional characters. William Shatner was in Star Trek Generations for the time as Kirk in 1994. People thought about this in ways. It meant that someone new was taking over. It also meant that William Shatner would always be remembered for what he did on television. When Star Trek ended suddenly in 1969, William Shatner had to make some tough choices. He was known everywhere for playing Captain Kirk, which was a deal. Being so famous, for one thing, also made it hard for him to do other things. William Shatner was recognized around the world for playing Captain Kirk, but he did not have many other opportunities. casting people had a time seeing William Shatner as anything other than a Starfleet person. This made it tough for him to find work. Instead of giving up, William Shatner found a way to make it work. He started doing a lot of television shows. William Shatner was in things like The Andersonville Trial, a show called Barbary Coast. He even did game shows like Hollywood Squares. These jobs were not as big as Star Trek. They helped William Shatner stay in the public eye. They also helped him learn to be flexible and strong in a business that can change fast. Something big happened in 1979 when Star Trek, the motion picture, came out. This movie did a lot for Star Trek. It also helped William Shatner's career. He got to be the captain of the USS Enterprise. This role was very important for him. It had made him famous. It also made it hard for him to do other things. This time, he had control. The movie did well. It led to 6 Star Trek movies. These movies showed that William Shatner is one of the popular people in science fiction. Star Trek is still very popular today because of him and the other movies. Outside the Star Trek franchise, William Shatner was happy to make fun of himself. He appeared in movies like Airplane 2, the sequel, and National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1, playing versions of Captain Kirk. This showed that William Shatner has a sense of humor and can laugh at his own Star Trek legacy. In 1982, William Shatner started something with the television series T.J. Hooker. He played a police sergeant who knows the streets. This role let William Shatner move away from science fiction and be the star of a tough and action-packed drama series like T.J. Hooker. William Shatner was part of T.J. Hooker. He did a lot of things for the show. He acted in it. He also directed some episodes. This means William Shatner had a lot of control over what happened on the show. T.J. Hooker was on television for 5 seasons. This helped William Shatner become known to a group of people who watch television. In 1989, William Shatner started hosting a show called Rescue 911. A lot of people in the United States trusted William Shatner because of this show. Rescue 911 was a show that talked about life emergencies. The show was on television for 7 years. On Rescue 911, William Shatner was very calm. Seemed like he knew what he was doing. This was very different from the way William Shatner acted in some of his roles. So Shatner was looking for something to do. He thought writing would be an idea. Shatner really likes science fiction, thinking about the future. This is why he helped create the Tech War series of books. The first book was called Tech War. People bought a lot of these books. They were so popular that they were made into television films and even a television series, although it did not last long. This just shows that Shatner is not a good actor, but he is also good at other things, like writing the Tech War series. One of the changes in his career happened when he played Denny Crane on The Practice. He was not a character at first, but people really liked him. Denny Crane was a lawyer who liked to talk about himself. He was very good at his job. People loved watching him because he was funny and sometimes sad. He was very good at saying things. People liked Denny Crane much that they made a new show called Boston Legal in 2004. William Shatner was great in Boston Legal. He won many awards for playing Denny Crane. The work that William Shatner did during this time was really good. People thought it was some of the work of his career. It made people see William Shatner not as a television star, but as a very good actor who can play many different characters. In the year 2008, William Shatner thought about his life and his career when his book came out. It was called Up Till Now. The book showed William Shatner's successes and failures, what he wanted to do, and how he always tried to do things that showed that William Shatner is a man who does not like to be told what to do. Shatner stayed really busy in the years that followed. He was in a lot of television programs and documentaries and films and public things. He did not just sit around thinking about the days. Instead, Shatner kept changing and trying things. This shows that it is not being famous that helps you last a long time in Hollywood, but also being able to reinvent yourself. As Shatner got older, he also became a supporter of being curious and exploring new things. Shatner had always been interested in science and technology and what the future holds, and this is what drove him to do this. This thing that he really loved made him want to host documentary series and talk to people about space and new ideas and what humans are doing in the universe. He did something cool in 2021 when he was 90 years old. He went to space on Blue Origin's New Shepard rocket, which made him the oldest person to ever do that. When he thought about the Earth and how it can be hurt easily and the quietness of space, it touched people around the world. It was a deal because he spent his whole life thinking about space and the universe and what it all means. Space was something that he thought about a lot. It was great that he got to experience it for himself on the Blue Origin's New Shepard rocket. Shatner's personal life happened at the time as his career. He went through a lot of things like love and loss. He always bounced back. On August 12, 1956, Shatner got married to Gloria Rand. She was an actress. They had 3 daughters together. These daughters were very important to Shatner. Shatner and Gloria Rand were married for 13 years. They dealt with a lot of things like being famous and having careers. In the end, they got a divorce. This was a change in Shatner's life. It was a change, but it meant a lot to Shatner. In 1973, he married Marcy Lafferty. This was his longest marriage. This marriage of his lasted for than 20 years. Marcy Lafferty and he went through a lot of things together. They had times and bad times as his career changed. Marcy Lafferty and he did not have any kids together. Being married to Marcy Lafferty was good for him because it gave him someone to be with and made him feel safe. Marcy Lafferty and he were married for 23 years. Then in 1996, Marcy Lafferty and he decided to end the marriage. This was a deal for him because he had been married to Marcy Lafferty for a long time and it had a big impact on his life. Shatner is talking about the stories that people have been talking about for a time. These stories say that he and his friend were not getting along. Shatner says that is not true. They were not really friends, but they were not enemies either. Shatner feels bad about this. He says that people often think they have a lot of time to say what they want to say. That is not always true. When his friend Doohan died in 2005, Shatner was left with things he wanted to say to Doohan. He never got the chance. He wishes he could have told Doohan how much he appreciated him. Shatner now talks about Doohan with a lot of humility and respect. He thinks of Doohan as a man who had to deal with a lot of pain from his past, like the things that happened to him during the war, but he was still a kind and funny guy. When Shatner looks back on the time they spent together, he does not see it as a competition between them, as 2 men who were not perfect and had to handle some really tough situations. Shatner and Doohan were 2 guys who had to figure things out. Ultimately, Shatner's reflection is not an attempt to rewrite history or confess guilt, but to acknowledge shared humanity. If given the chance, he says he would simply offer thanks for Doohan's work, patience, and role in something that changed so many lives. At 94, William Shatner's words carry the weight of experience and acceptance, reminding audiences that even legends continue to learn, reflect, and grow long after the final curtain falls.